Happy Monday. I'm waiting to see that people know that I'm here. Hi. Hi. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new week where we are all in the same places that we have been for a lot of weeks. We're doing it. Happy Monday. Welcome. You know how sometimes you're drawing something that you're not perfectly sure of and it makes you a little nervous? I just had to have a pep talk phone call with my sister to fortify and to calm myself. So, just a note to all of you people out there who think that I know all there is about drawing everything. I don't. So, shall we proceed? This week we're going to do something a little different. We are going to, if it's okay with you, and you don't have to do this, but this is what I'm going to do. I am going to draw one picture all week. What do you mean, you ask? I'll tell you what I mean. I am going to be starting today with a barn. We are drawing farm scenes this week, and I'm going to do it all on the same piece of paper all week long. So I hope that that is something that you will enjoy. And drawing barns is not easy, but this is going to be farm week, and it's not just going to be a barn. It's going to be a lot of, hello everyone, hi kids, hello. But today we're going to start with the barn portion of our farm scene. I am certain that there are some of you who know better than I do how or what a barn looks like, because maybe some of you have barns. I don't have a barn. I have a little tiny shed, but it's not a barn. So I welcome you to make any adjustments to your barn that you would like. And there are so many different kinds of barns, and I've been doing a little research this morning. But first, I would love to show you, sometimes when we have, and I've only, been doing this for 2 weeks, but when we have a certain theme for the week, hey look, there's a blue jay. When we have a certain theme, I like to sometimes gather some things that inspire me. And since this week is farm week, and my grandfather was a wheat farmer in Wyoming, this is my grandpa Norberg and my grandma Norberg. Aren't they cute? Can you kind of see? That's Philip and that's Hazel. They were good people. And this is some wheat from Wyoming that I've had in my house, I don't know, for a long time. And then I've always had this cute little toy pickup truck, and it looked kind of farmy. And so those are my inspiration bits for today. None of them show me how to draw a barn, but we'll figure that out. So before we begin, I would love to show you, I showed on a little slide in my stories about an hour ago that I thought it would be great if you had a larger piece of paper today. And so while I'm showing you my setup, if you don't have a large piece of paper in front of you, but you do have, but you do have paper, let me show you what I did. And if some of you need to scramble and go get this, or if some of you just don't care, or if some of you have a sketchbook, but you could open it all the way and draw across the whole thing. I know you're missing my blue nail. I had to take it off. Don't worry, it'll be back tomorrow. But if you wanted to draw your farm scene all the way across 2 sides of a sketchbook, you could also do that. But let me show you what I did here. I just had 2 pieces of drawing paper, and they're kind of flimsy and thin, but I just put some Scotch tape on the back and attached them to one another so that I had a double wide piece of drawing paper. So you could do something like that. My piece of paper that I'm using today is 11 inches by 14 inches. And I think that's going to be big enough for me. But I think because we're doing a whole farm scene, it really could be fun to be able to spread out a little bit. And on top of that, this week, because we're drawing on one piece of paper only, and we're going to just be starting today and then adding tomorrow and then adding Wednesday and then we'll be adding our farm critters, some farm machinery, but we're going to need to just use pencil, or at least that's what I'm thinking. I'm just going to use pencil and the trusty eraser this week. If you want to use, as I always say, you can use whatever you want, but I'm pretty sure that I'm going to want to erase. Whoop! So, are we ready? Let's begin. Now, I said let's begin, but I have my big piece of paper, but as I have had in the past several drawing lessons, I've got this little sketchbook that I just have sitting ready if I need to do some little sketches before I put lines on this piece of paper. So I think sometimes it's fun, even if it's not a sketchbook, even if it's just an extra piece of paper that doesn't really matter, but that you can sort of practice some different shapes and lines on. That is really a handy dandy thing to have. So before we start with the barn, you know what's coming. Good looking. All right, but I'm going to start with this slightly lighter pencil just because I feel like it. All right, so we've been doing, with all of our critters and with our spring week, we did a lot of shapes that were round. We did a lot of ovals. We did a lot of sort of teardrops. We did a lot of those kind of more rounded shapes. And those kinds of shapes that are sort of like you can't really call them anything. These are called, the only thing you can call them, these kinds of shapes are called organic shapes. But what we're going to be focusing on today are what we call, and what you probably know a whole lot about, are geometric shapes. And geometric shapes, as I'm drawing them, you could just feel free to call out whatever geometric shapes you know about. I think I'm hearing someone say square. Someone said square. No, you did. I just heard someone say triangle. Yeah, those are geometric. Rectangle, yep, you got it. And then we get into the really tough ones like pentagon. That's not going to be right. And hexagon and all those sorts of things. And rhombus and trapezoid and all those wonderful words. But today we're going to be starting with a rectangle. I'm going to start with a rectangle. And before I show you how I'm going to start building these barns, I wanted to show you a bunch of different, didn't like that one. I wanted to show you a bunch of different ways that I built some different types of, let me move this up a little bit, some different sort of shapes of barns, but they're all built with these sorts of geometric shapes that we recognize, like rectangles and triangles, rhombus. All right, so I'm going to show you, just for ease, I'm going to just show you one way of making a barn today, but if you would like to make it differently, you be my guest. All right, here we go. And this is just kind of our warm-up sheet. And again, sometimes something that I tell my students is when you're starting a drawing and you're trying to draw really lightly, I like to pretend that my pencil is whispering to the paper. This is a whispering pencil. This is a screaming pencil. This is a whispering pencil line. Very, very lightly. All right, now I'm going to stack, kind of like a wedding cake, I'm going to stack a square on top of that rectangle. And I know this doesn't look quite like a barn yet, but stick with me. All right, on top of the top part of our wedding cake, I'm going to do a little sort of squatty triangle. And then, just stay with me. Then I'm going to take a line from here to here. I'm going to do the same thing over here. When I was a little girl, my sister and I, and then I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to erase this. When my sister and I were little girls, we had the Fisher-Price farmyard barn toy, and it had all the different pieces and parts, and it had a cute little barn that all of the different pieces all came in. It was like a little carrying case shaped like a barn, and I was always very frustrated by trying to draw that sort of roof, but I think I just did it. So the rest of what we're going to be adding to our barn today is a lot of geometric stuff that you know how to draw. So for instance, you know how to draw a square. And again, this is just my sketch. I'm about to move over to my real one, but I'm just going to kind of give you an idea of where we're going. I like to think about all of the different sort of openings that would be on a barn. There's definitely the hayloft up here. Maybe there's, I don't know, maybe there's a little window here and a little window here. All right, enough sketching. We're going to move on to the real deal. All right, so I'm hoping that everyone has their sort of larger than usual piece of paper. And if you don't, you know what? It's really not going to be a big deal. And we've got a little interesting thing today. I am making my paper long ways this way, which is called horizontal or landscape, but my camera is going this way, so we're all just going to have to kind of deal. But what you should know is that I'm about to put my barn right smack dab in the middle of my page. So, if you're ready, here we go. Hi everyone. Hi Naya. All right. So drawing with a whisper, not a screaming pencil. I'm worried that you guys aren't going to be able to tell like where I'm putting this on my page, so I'm going to go like this for a minute. How's that? You should see the way I look right now. Very lightly drawing. Can't really see. And I made those go up too far, so I'm going to make this sort of a long rectangle like this. Ignore those lines, we'll erase them later. So right now I've got a long rectangle laying down in the middle of my page. That's that so far. And now here we go. I'm going to make sort of the wedding cake we talked about with a square on top of the rectangle. And then I'm going to make that little sort of squatty, short triangle up on top. Don't worry, we're not done yet. And then remember, like in our sketch just now, we're going to take a line from here to here. Don't be confused by that. It's going away in just a minute. And then we come over here and we do the same thing. Does anybody remember that word, that word that starts with an S that we used with our butterflies? That means same on the both sides. Is anybody recognizing the same thing with our barn? Interesting. I never thought that barns and butterflies had anything in common. They do. Symmetry. All right. That that's a decent start. I'm gonna just darken a few of those lines. Off to the races. All right. So we need to think, but I wanted to also show you, sorry, this is a totally different barn. This is my Uncle Bob's very beautiful barn. It's very simple. You can see that is the simplest roof line possible. I should have just gone with that. But this is my Uncle Bob's barn out in Wyoming on their farm, and it's beautiful. All right. So our next job, we got to have a way to get the horses and the cows in and out of this barn. So we're going to need a little square. It's like a little double door. So that'll go right there. Okay, good. And then I am thinking in advance about all of the animals that are going to be in and around my barn. And I have fun thinking about ways that I can show where they're hanging out. So maybe I'm going to leave these open so that maybe there's a little horse that's poking his little head out on this side. Maybe there's a little goose walking out of the barn. I don't know. I definitely keep thinking about Charlotte's Web. I don't know about you guys. Now, there is this thing called a hayloft, and it is, as it sounds, it's where they keep the hay. Got to keep it dry. So there's kind of a big opening up here. It's kind of right above the doors, but it's way up on a top level. And sometimes it goes up all the way, but I'm just going to make it a square like that. Square-ish. All right, now, because I feel like it, I'm also going to create sort of a little shed, kind of open air. It's almost like a porch for a barn. It's a little line that comes down here, and I'm going to put one on the other side too, because guess what can hang out under there? Animals. So right now it looks like this barn has wings and is about to start flying, but we're going to give it a little sort of line that comes down here. And we're imagining, very lightly, just imagining that that's the ground right there. And we'll do the same thing over here. And we'll imagine that that's the ground right there. All right, how we doing, everyone? All right, so that is a decent start, and I would love also to add a little. If I were building this little shed over on this side, I would think that there would need to also be a line that goes across this way, because it seems like that would make that sort of a stronger building structure. You probably are agreeing with me right now. And you know what? This one ended up being higher than that one, but that's okay with me. Maybe there's higher ground over here. Don't know. And then maybe next time when we're starting to add some of our farm critters, we can put some other detail under here. But for now, we're just going to leave it open to give us all kinds of opportunity. And I like to be a little bit decorative. I don't know about you, but wait, before I do this, where the roof line is, instead of that just being a line, I'm going to turn that into a double line so it kind of looks like the sort of overhang of the roof. Does that make sense? I hope so. We haven't done, hang on, that was wrong. We haven't done a whole lot of angular drawings together, have we? This is new and fresh. All right, so now instead of all of these angles being lines, I've turned them into bars. So like this window, that's just a line, but then when you turn it into two lines next to each other, it kind of looks like the trim work on a building. All right, I'm gonna put this cute little thing up on top of the barn because it's kind of like, you know, a crown on a princess. You just want to put something pretty on top. So I'm gonna do a line that comes up that way and a line that comes up this way. And I think this is where our weather vane is going to go. And I'm gonna do another little short, squatty triangle like that. And then, and you guys, I don't know if you've ever seen a weather vane before, but they're usually those little things that are up on a pole and they're up on top of a building, and the wind moves them around, and there are these little crossbars. Sorry, that got out of focus. There are these little crossbars, and does anybody want to take a little guess as to what goes on those 4 tips? And while I'm waiting for you to tell me what go on those, I'm going to put, usually there's an animal that's cut out of metal or iron that is, or whatever that is, that's up on top of the weather vane. So I'm going to make mine the good old rooster, and it's like a U shape. And I'm just gonna put a little head like this. And I'm gonna color it in because I want it to look like it's dark metal, and it can just be in silhouette. And maybe put that little thing on top of his head. All right, so on these little guys, we would have the 4 directions, we would have north, and opposite of north would be south, and then over here would be east, and over here would be west. All right, so I got incredibly detailed here. Not incredibly detailed here, but that's okay. That looks a little bit large. I'm still going to go with it. All right, so at this point, we can go ahead and start turning what I was just saying about turning lines into bars so that it kind of looks like the sort of wood trim work on a barn. So you're just kind of drawing a little square inside the square that you drew. And we would do the same thing up in the hayloft. And a lot of barns that I have seen have, of course, like the little line that would make the double doors, but then they have like those little X markings. And I could do those, but I don't want to because I'm not so sure that I want any of these openings to be closed up. I think I want to be able to see into the barn, and so I'm going to leave them open for now. So I'm going to let everybody kind of get caught up here. And then if you look at this, if you look at my Uncle Bob's beautiful barn, you can see these sort of horizontal lines. That's all of the wood siding that's on the barn. And I'm not going to sit here and draw every single one of those lines because I think that's something that you all are probably capable of doing on your own. But I will say that I think I would start with that line right there because that gives me sort of a place to start, and I can make lines going down this way and then I can make lines going up that way. But before we are done for today, I am going to draw a few of these because we've talked about this with some of our critter drawings. When you have a line that you want to make look like it's going behind something else, when it gets to that thing, you got to stop your line and sort of pick up your pencil and imagine that it's traveling behind and then put it there. And then we'll do the same thing over here and the same thing over here. That's a really great little trick to have in your artist back pocket. I'm going to do one more. I just now said that I wasn't going to sit here and do all of them, and I'm not. So I think that is where we will stop for today. And if I could encourage you to go ahead and make all of those sort of wood lines on the barn, you can make them go all the way up and do the same thing up here that we did down here, making your lines stop and then start again over here. It'll look pretty great. And if you wanted to go ahead and put some details over under this shed, like if you wanted it to look like there was a little fence that went across, you could go ahead and do that. A lot of what we've done today has just been bars, like lines and bars. And that's what a fence really is made up of, is just a bunch of bars, keeping all the critters in, keeping the critters safe. So that's going to be it for today. And as you can see, we've got lots and lots and lots of room all around our barn where we can put all kinds of fun details and critters and tractors and pickup trucks and things like that. So, and then we're also, next time, we're going to introduce some sort of lines of land, and that will help it look like our barn isn't floating in midair. But for today, I'm going to leave you floating in midair. How do you like them apples? All right, wait, hang on. Say goodbye to Philip, Oscar, and Hazel Fern. If you missed it earlier, those are my grandparents. They were farmers, or he was a farmer. She was a farmer's wife. I have a lot of interesting stories that I might be able to share. My mother has some funny stories from when she was a little girl on the farm in Wyoming. But I got to get my story straight before I share the story with you, because I might have a few details off. So I am going to say goodbye for today, but before I do, if anyone has specific farm-related elements that you would love to know how to draw that we could add to this drawing, I'm not going to say that I can do every single one if I open the floodgates and there are, 38 different things that you guys want to know how to draw. But I would love to hear from you what sorts of things, like, do you want to know how to draw a little piglet? Or, we're definitely going to draw a pig, but think about the things that you would imagine being in your farm scene. Mine definitely has a tractor, but I might draw the tractor sort of far away because I'm not super confident about drawing tractors, but we're going to give it our best, and it's going to be made out of more geometric shapes. So that's it for today. And guess what? We're just going to come right back to this piece of paper and this pencil and this eraser tomorrow. And who knows what we'll be adding? It's up to you, or is it? It's up to me, actually. All right, so good to hear from all of you. I hope that the start of your week has been nice and easy. And until tomorrow, thanks everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Until tomorrow. Trying to think of a farm exit greeting, but I can't think of one. Until tomorrow. Happy trails.